Should children be attending school every day? This is the discussion currently underway in the Basic Education Department. It's considering allowing primary school children to go back to school full-time. The idea is one that's had widespread support. School governing bodies have welcomed the potential move, saying children need the routine and consistency. SADTU, however, says the department must ensure there's enough classrooms and space for social distancing. NAPTOSA also raised concerns about overcrowding present in some schools. So how will a balance be found? Let's bring in now the Department of spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga, who joins us now via Skype. Elijah, thank you so much for your time. Let's recap a little bit first. What's the current arrangements in schools?
Good afternoon, Clement. The current arrangement is that schools are using a rotational approach, which means learners are not attending at the same time, all of them. A group will go on Monday, another on Tuesday. In other places, we have one group going Monday to Friday, another group coming in the following week, attending the whole week. In a few schools, you have learners platooning, which means there's a group that goes in the morning and another in the afternoon. But it's something that we found unsustainable in the system.
What exactly are the challenges that the Education Department has faced in this alternating system, capacity-wise, but also in terms of the education that is provided to the learners, because children need routine and consistency, and perhaps this disruption in the normal schooling system can be a challenge for them?
No, it is definitely a challenge. I mean, we have looked at research. I've read it myself many times and listened to the researchers talking about it. The learning losses are huge. We have come up with a 3-year recovery plan. But even that plan, we don't believe that we'll be able to recover in 3 years. In fact, we've been told to stop using the word recover or catch up, because it's not going to happen. So we need to find another way of reworking the curriculum in a way that we're able to go forward without having to try catch up on lost time, because you can never recover on the time that we've lost. But we need to find a way to get the curriculum back on track again using a variety of strategies and innovations, which is what we are currently doing in this 2-day workshop, which started this morning. It will continue until tomorrow afternoon.
So you have some parents asking for schools to accept children on a daily basis. Many of them argue, like scientists, that the children can get infected at home or at school, and that children are rarely hospitalized, let alone die from COVID-19. But it can be, it can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. So we've got some schools that are vastly overpopulated, where you can't even manage a half-meter distance between children. So how can you balance it all? And I know the discussions are still underway, but are you already looking at ways of planning for a possible balance?
Yeah, we are. There are different proposals. The fact is that we don't have answers to all the questions. That's why we first needed to discuss it within the basic education sector ourselves, consider the practical implications of that type of proposal before we formulate a formal proposal that will then take to the different platforms, be it the net joints or the NCCC or even the social cluster, where these matters are discussed. So we are now saying we are education, we are not health experts. We depend on the health experts to tell us what is possible and what is not. But from an education perspective, we are saying we can't afford one more day of no learning or of disruptive learning, because that's what it is. Particularly in primary school, learners are not able to continue as normal because they are young. Some of them, they learn today, tomorrow they're not in school. When they come on Wednesday, they've forgotten everything. So you're starting afresh every day, which means you're not making as much progress as we'd like to make. So it's a complex situation. Our teachers are saying that they are missing their children. They wish they could have all of them and teach all of them at the same time. We are not ignoring the fact that the coronavirus is there. It is still very much there, but we believe that we need advice on how to move forward, especially because if you look at global calls for schools to return, the noise is becoming louder and louder from UNESCO, from OECD, and other international organizations that look after the interests of learners in around the world. So we are not alone in calling for this, but we believe that we need to do so responsibly.
Are there calls specifically for only primary schooling to go back to the daily classrooms, or are there calls for secondary and high schools as well to go back to that old system?
Well, such modalities are still being discussed, but primary school definitely we will be making that proposal because all research has indicated that the learners at that level are not as affected as learners in secondary schools. But even with secondary schools, we need to understand that it can't be all of them just remaining like that. There are certain grades, like grade 12, for example, which need to be looked at differently so that we are not losing as much time as we could if things were to remain as they are. We know from the lessons of 2020 the interventions that we put in place to assist them. But we also need to remember that the grade 12 of 2021 are the grade 11s of 2020 who did not complete their curriculum. So we need to keep pushing as much as we can with what is possible, taking the advice from the health and medical experts.
Yeah, and just lastly, are we ready for a potential third wave? What preparations are you making as the education department? We have had a delayed start to the 2021 academic year, and I imagine that, honestly, we cannot have another delay, so to speak, but we're at the mercy of this virus. What preparations are you making as the education department?
In one of the research studies that I listened to an hour ago in the workshop, we were told that masks have played a big role in containing the virus, which means if everyone were to comply, adhere to the health and safety protocols, wearing your mask and sanitizing all the time, there is no other form of readiness other than just that strict adherence to the rules that would save all of us. So that's where we are right now. If there's anything else, we'll wait for the advice from the Department of Health and their structures that they've created to provide advice in this regard.
All right. Elijah Mhlanga, thank you so much for your time. He speaks on behalf of the Basic Education Department.